Hi, I'm Dr. Shana Conradt, and I would like to welcome you to 69 Love. It's 2024, so that will be important as you watch these videos because sometimes I reference things that are happening right now and years from now when you watch these. I just want you to be able to do the math if you want to figure it out. So I am 45 years old. I am married to a dude. His name is Graham. I say Graham like the cracker all the time because I don't want people to get confused and think that I have a nickname for my grandmother that is Graham. So I'm not talking about my grandma, I'm talking about my husband. And mathematically, it makes sense that we have been married for 22 years. That is possible, but I still feel all the time very overwhelmed by the fact that it's been 22 years this October. I just think that that's crazy that I'm old enough to even be married that long, but I totally dig him. He's like my favorite human. In the first 10 years of our marriage, we had a lot of trouble. I tell people often that I think we were not only immature in being young, but maybe immature in our relationship. And a handful of times, I think that maybe both of us thought it wasn't going to work. But looking back now, I'm so thankful that we didn't do those things because the last 10 plus years have been awesome. And he's just the most amazing dude. We have two boys. Jonah is in college and Sawyer is just about to finish high school next year, and they're both pretty wonderful, and that's cool. I grew up in a little town in Wisconsin. Actually went to high school with my husband, but we were not boyfriend and girlfriend. We are not the high school sweetheart story. In fact, I was not even that attracted to him. He's this big, strong blonde guy, and I definitely was not into that type when I was young. So I went off to a school in Wisconsin called UW Stout. That's where I have my undergraduate degree in psychology from. And when I moved back home to the Appleton area after college, I bumped into Graham in a bar, and he called me the next day and asked me on a date, and I said no thank you. And he called a couple of times and I said no a couple of more times, and finally the dude wore me down and I went on a date with him, kind of a group thing. And long story short, I realized that he is everything that I never knew that I was looking for. That's kind of how much I dig him. It's funny when I think about how crazy life can be and how it just leads you in places that you wouldn't have expected if you're just open to it. So yeah, Graham and I got married, and when we got married, we didn't think that was stressful enough, and we both decided to open our own businesses. So my degree's in psychology, but with a bachelor's degree in psychology, you can't do too much in the field. And I did college sports, and I did some bodybuilding and some powerlifting and some other things. I've always been into health and wellness. And so when we first got married, I thought that I wanted to open a gym. So that's what I did. And Graham bought a business called Curb Appeal. So he does landscaping and concrete edging and all those things. And he's been busting his butt since we got married, still owns the business, doing a great job. I'm insanely proud of him for putting that much time and dedication into something that he's built. So that's cool. So I did the gym thing for about 10 years and had a falling out with my business partner, and I realized that I needed to move on, and I didn't have any idea what to do with myself. After running my own business for 10 years, it was unlikely that I was going to want to work for someone else. So I kind of made up a job. I took all of the ways that I had been teaching people healthy eating for 10 years and I put them in a little book called Getting Fit with Food. So I wrote a cookbook. And when I did that, I decided that I wanted to try to get into corporate wellness speaking. So I put myself out there, Kimberly Clark and Pierce and a lot of the big businesses and big companies in the Green Bay and Appleton area. I just put myself out there, found the HR manager and reached out, and I started getting some gigs, and that was pretty fun. So I did that for a couple of years. And then again, this is kind of in a nutshell. So the people that I mentioned in these videos are gonna be like, that's not how it happened, Shana, but it's darn close. So met a girl named Liz, who ended up being and still currently is one of the best friends I've had in my life. And we started a business called Make Me Hot Meals, which is similar to what HelloFresh is these days, but this is roughly 10 or so years ago. And we had a little kitchen in Appleton that's pretty cute. We had a really groovy website with funky names for our meals. It was really fun doing that. And we delivered from like Green Bay to Oshkosh. That was pretty fun. We got a little gig on Fox 11, which is our local television channel, cooking on TV. It was called Grilling with the Girls, and that's another fun thing that Liz and I did together. And then again, in a nutshell, Liz fell in love and we decided that we needed to grow up and get real jobs. That's what I say all the time. So while this story might sound kind of interesting, and maybe it is interesting, it's not as fancy as it comes across. I spent a lot of years figuring out where I fit into the world. And I didn't know. I was test driving all these things and trying to figure myself out. And when we decided to go get those big girl jobs, I realized that the boys were old enough that I wanted to go back to school. I was ready to do something with my psychology degree and maybe find that place that the world was kind of guiding me toward. So I went home and I talked to Graham and I said, I think I want to go back to college and get my master's degree. So like any good partner, he said, babe, I will take care of us. Just bust your ass and let's do it. So my master's degree specifically is in marriage, couples, and family therapy. My favorite thing to do in my office when it comes to therapy is couples work. I love sex, I love love, I love conflict, I love everything that goes into a healthy relationship. And my private practice focuses a lot on that. So I went from that master's degree right through into my PhD, which is in health psychology. There's no PhD for sex psychology or sex therapy, which is totally what I would have done. But health psychology in general is how poorly managed stress makes us sick. So if we're in this chronic place of stress for too long, our bodies have to give somewhere. So if we're not taking care of ourselves, I tell people the 3 least expensive methods of treatment for anxiety and depression are how we eat, how we sleep, and how we move. And if we don't have time or can't find the time to do those things, something has to give. And so often we'll get skin disorders or stomach issues. And in extreme situations, stress plays into cancer and heart disease and some other things that are even more intense. So that is what my PhD is in. And so I apply all of that in my office here. And one of the last things I want to tell you all before I sign off on this first YouTube video of mine is why I do what I do. So my desire to spread love through the world is very intense, and it's for a handful of reasons. I have 2 relationships in my life that have been the most impactful on me. One is my parents. So 2 years ago, my dad, our dad, my sister and mine, and my mom's partner for life, passed away. But that relationship that they displayed to us growing up was insane. I remember being in high school and being completely mortified by my parents. I would have friends walk in the door and I would say, go straight down the stairs, do not look left or right. They are probably making out right now. And my dad was super tall, 6'6", and my mom's a cute little 5'2" or 5'3", and so she would like jump up on the couch so she could kiss him properly. And he couldn't walk through the kitchen without grabbing her in the butt or saying something really cute to her. And the way they loved was such an example to me and to my sister Kelly that I think we both found that in our lives because it was something that we wanted to capture, right? The other relationship that was very significant to me is my mom's brother, my Uncle Lee, and his partner Andy. They have been together since I can remember, right? Since I was teeny tiny. So that relationship, for other reasons and for the same, the way that they loved each other, the way they cared for each other. Graham and I spent a lot of time when they still lived in the state here. They live elsewhere now, but we would go to Milwaukee and we would spend time with them and we would encourage them before bed to like, just kiss each other already. Like, it's okay, because we just loved watching their love grow through the years. So some therapists and psychologists focus on their craft because of negative experiences or challenges or trauma that they have been through. And I suppose my reasons are kind of on the flip side. I love the way that it feels to experience love, whether it's to give or receive, so very much because of the examples that I had in my life that I want so desperately to try to share that with the world to the best of my abilities. And my office has been a great space for me for a long time. And I finally found the courage because of some people in my life that I love dearly to go a step further. I'm sorry that I'm emotional too, but this is kind of just how I roll. These are big things and big moments in life, and so I just embrace the heck out of that stuff. Especially tears of happiness are pretty darn cool. So I'll sign off again in this first video on YouTube for 69 Love by saying something to consider after all this talk about love. What would it look like in this world if we all chose to love just a tiny bit harder? And I will see you next time.